Hi everyone, welcome back to Cardvoyant. I'm Kris and I'm your Cardvoyant. And today I've got a couple things for you. Just a very short one card reading that we'll do. And then I've also got some messages for you from the masters that I've been channeling. Before any of that, I just want to say welcome to new subscribers and also thank you for subscribing, all of you who've subscribed and watched the channel. It's been very fun to do and interesting to do. And also reading all the comments and everything is just, it's just very nice. So thank you for that. And thank you for watching this video. So let's do this one card reading. And what I'm going to be doing is just asking my guides, what we need to know, what would help us to know, what would be good for us to know today. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll be shuffling for a second. We'll have our little reading. Let's just see this. All right, so that's the one card I pulled. Let's see what it is. Oh, the Nine of Swords, you guys. This card, I can just, obviously, I can feel this. I've experienced this. We're sort of all going through this. This card is all about the things that are keeping us up at night, the worry. Here we are, isolated in our homes. Those of us who are going out to work are really, taking risks, and it feels that way, right? We've got these 9 swords here that are indicative of all these accumulated fears and worries about not only what we're going through right now, but also about the future, right? What does that even look like anymore? And then we're worried you can think of this also as our stacked worries about individuals. We have our children and our parents and our friends and our extended family and even, non people things, our jobs, our home, groceries, just getting groceries, all of these things. And they're literally keeping us up at night. And there's just this worry associated with what we're going through right now. The thing about this card, the thing about the 9 of Swords is the promise that comes with it, right? This is like an acknowledgement, but there's this promise. All these, you see the poppies and these more positive symbols on here, and they're truly covering us like a bed covering, because that's more of the eternal, the eternal and the support that we get from the non-physical world, but also the feeling of the process, right? This is the support that we have in acknowledging that this is a process. This is something we're going through. This isn't the end of the story. This is a part of our story. And as in a reading that I gave just the other day for someone, a personal reading, I talked about how this is a sliver of time, really, and they were a younger person. And I said, this is something that is just a sliver in this long part of this long history of your life, this long story of your life, and you'll look back on it. It's an important part. I mean, it's this, right? It's not only an important part. It's a very sort of traumatic part, and it's not something that you're going to forget. It's one of those things, an extended thing, because we all have these periods of things that we remember, like the shuttle disaster, right? The Challenger disaster, or 9/11. If you're older, like me, it may be the Kennedy assassination. For me personally, is the Robert Kennedy assassination, but maybe it's JFK for you. And these are these big things in our lives that become sort of milestones. And this is the same, and yet it's extended, like the Great Depression was, or World War II for people. Or even Vietnam. so many wars to choose from, right? That are these extended period of times that have memories within them. And there's something that we don't forget. There's something that we take away. And it's definitely something that will affect the rest of your life, in that you remember these times. And it's not all bad. It won't be all bad, especially for very younger people. It will be a time of, as with the depression, right? The things that you remember that aren't as traumatic, but are memories that don't go away and that do affect your life. My mother was a child during World War II, and the things that she tells me um, are wrapped in the time period and not so much the trauma of the time period. She talks about rationing, or different things that, their gardens that they used to have, things like that. I mean, that they remember, that aren't necessarily traumatic, but are unforgettable. So that's what's happening right now, even though we're in the midst of it. So it feels very much like this Nine of Swords. It's like this acknowledgement. Yes, this is happening. Yes, we get it. Of course you're feeling that way. Of course you are. It's natural. But remember that we have this covering of our eternal selves, of hope, and of those in the physical and non-physical world who truly are looking out for us and trying to get us as best way possible through this very difficult time. And you're doing that on individual levels too. I'm sure you're doing it within your family, within yourself, right? All that you can to just sort of get yourself through this time, so that there's fewer of these moments and more of the comforting moments. Like you're able to pull that covering up over yourselves, and the swords sort of disappear, and you're able to rest. So there you have it, an interesting card. I hope, in some way that's helpful, even though that is a difficult card. Hopefully some of the explanation and the reason for receiving that card is helpful. So the other thing that I wanted to do today is to give you a little message. I've lately, as I talked about in the past few videos that I've done, even the one that I did with my sister Kim on her channel, Intuitive View, which you should tune into. It's in Intuitive View on YouTube, and she also does fantastic personal readings, and she's going to be starting classes, sort of learning to gain your psychic power kind of thing. But as you may have noticed in the past few that I've done, I've been receiving these messages of from what I sort of termed this group of masters. Lately, I've been hearing that I could refer to them collectively as Jacob, because I got this idea in my head of having this thing that's sort of like a work that's called Jacob's Journals, and this may be part of what I'm doing right now, what I'll be relating to you right now. And I sort of was like pushing that off. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I wasn't quite comfortable with the sound of it for some reason. I don't know. But I just keep getting it. So that's what I'm going to say, that this collective, instead of keep saying the masters, and I said like the masters of the pandemic, the masters of this rising that we're experiencing, and they're like, just call us Jacob. So that's what I'm doing. So I've been getting these messages from Jacob, and it comes in the form of automatic writing, and usually while I'm meditating it will start coming, and then I'll be able to write, and then I'll go back to meditating. And for better or worse, this often comes late at night, so I'm like, scribbling, and then I sort of try and write it out better, and so I can read it. Hopefully, and I'm not, I miss a word here and there because I am just sort of scribbling, but I will show you. Let me put this down so you can see in this notebook. So what it looks like when I'm writing and when I'm scribbling and receiving, I guess you would say, these messages. Sometimes I'll skip pages because it's sometimes dark when I'm doing it, but they're like this, right? So then I've taken them and put them into something that I can read to you right now. This is a first part because I have another section that I did last night and sort of have written out today, but they're related. I mean, it's all related, and yet the other part is a little bit more specific to what we're going through, and this is a little bit more a little bit broader. So I did want to present this sort of in the order that I received them. So I'll do this today, and then hopefully I'll do another video maybe tomorrow, or definitely this weekend. So let me just read this for you because I feel like that's the way that it's pure. Then I'm going to write it, and it will be available on my website, cardvoyant.com, for you to read or download. When I was getting it, and when I'm getting these things, they seem very clear to me. Like, I get it. This is, oh, of course, this makes sense. And then when I was rewriting it, I'm like, okay, I need to read this carefully and read it again to sort of get the message. So when you're in that sort of, it's like a different state of consciousness, it all makes sense, but coming back and reading it, it's more difficult. So I thought maybe if you are interested, you might want to just read it or print it out or whatever. So because this is definitely not, I mean, I'm happy to be part of the process, and I'm happy to be sort of being used in this way, to be channeled through, but it's definitely not me. So it's it may feel more complicated and something that you kind of want to look at and let sink in. So let me just go ahead and read this to you, and then we'll talk a little bit more. So this is what they said. We're invited to see parts. The process is part of the book, intrinsically linked to the beginning, middle, and end of the work. You cannot separate them. It goes beyond the idea of faith without works is dead. It is all works and bound up with the faith. Works, words, deeds, desires, belief, input, potential, process, achievement, fame, folly. Nothing is one thing, and in that sense, nothing is pure, nor should it be. We are all the results, and I wrote results, and then I crossed that out, and it's like, no, the expression of a summation of all that we think, do, say, believe, which is not an indictment, but rather a cure. Acceptance of others comes within the context of understanding of our understanding of ourselves as intrinsically, defiantly, undeniably, magnificently, multifaceted, malleable, and always movable, mutable and transmutable. There is no finished product, only a vibrational learning, a beautiful, vibrant, vibrating becoming, constant and plotted and pushed into the creative, explosive, universal growth. There is no shame in it, as there is no shame. Underlying an expansive, permanent love. And joyous celebration when that love grows, expands, explodes, lightens, brightens, soothes, and celebrates the righteous expansion of all that is. That is joy. That is joyous. When we are joyous, joyful, expanded in joy, which is our purpose, your purpose, and the deepest expression, expansion, and purpose of all that is. Look around at what nature is and not what man has wrought. This is a physical representation of joy. Why refuse a gift given freely, given lovingly, created fully for you, by us, for us? Your joy is capable of ever expanding, but comes from within your heart, not from the things around you or the things you accumulate. Look at the fullness of nature. It exists in joy and beauty without competition or accumulation. It is beautiful. It is joyous. So that is the first message. And I thought, it's a good grounding for the idea of the bigger picture, the biggest picture. And hopefully, even as we're in these enclosed spaces, these tight spaces, while we're having time to reflect, or maybe being called on to reflect and spend some of that time that we all need within ourselves, this is a perfect time to explore the bigger meaning of life. Right? When I speak of the all that is to me, that is my phrase that I like to use, and many people do, for the God concept, for God, for some people might say that the Christ consciousness, but it's however you can frame it, however the universe, however it works for you, however you think of that. This still holds true. These bigger truths still hold truth behind that naming of God as you see God. But I did feel like this is it's almost like a foundation, a basis and a beginning to sort of build on, and to lay out before you first, before we talk about maybe more specifics, or I don't, whatever they have in mind. The part that I was sort of translating today after writing down my crazy handwriting is a little bit more specific about the situation, and yet in a broad concept also. So I will, as I said, I'll present that with a new card for tomorrow, and also, allowing us to move into that information just as we did today. So I hope this little video is helpful to you. I hope the card that we pulled is helpful to you. And again, thank you for subscribing. I will mention that because I've had several emails asking if I have openings for private readings, and I do, because the openings that you see on my website are sort of related to this channel, so they're there for you to take if you would like. And I did add the half-hour readings if that's something that you're interested in. And as I said, you can also go to cardvoyant.com, where you can book a reading. That's where you would book a reading. But you can go there and get the written text of these messages as well. And I think we'll probably put that, I assume, under like the blog, because there's a place for a blog, which I haven't been very good at keeping up. So you'll probably be able to find these under the blog posting if you're interested in having them. So thank you again for tuning in and watching. I'll be back fairly soon, as I said, with continuation of this and another card. And until then, please take care of yourself. Please take care of each other. We'll get through this little section of our life, and we'll move on with even greater knowledge and with a greater love for each other. So take care. See you. Bye-bye.